Hello viewers, today we will discuss the topic population trends and challenges in United States of America. The nations in today's world cannot afford to ignore the various population trends, including reduced fertility in some nations and limited family planning for others, growing ranks of elderly, and accelerated urbanization, all of which pose new challenges. Population trends relate to the changes in a population's characteristics like fertility, mortality, age, gender, geographical location, marital status, race, religion, and health. Global population trends. The population of the world is increasing about 50 million every year, and there is no expectation of an early reduction in the rate of growth. This large increase in the world population has occurred despite a marked decline in the growth rate of the world population, which fell to 1.2% in the year 2000. The world's urban population is projected to grow by 1.8% a year from 2000 to 2030. The world population has increased to 7.2 billion in 2014. In 2014, the total fertility rate for the world was around 2.5 children per woman, and fertility rates for the world have shown a downward trend at a fast pace. Life expectancy, on the other hand, has shown an upward trend, which has risen from 64.8 years in 1990 to 1995 to 70 years in 2010 to 2015. That is a gain of 5.2 years. International migration has been increasing over the past years. In 2013, the number of international migrants has risen up to 232 million from 154 million in 1990. Aging has also become a world phenomenon, and the share of old people rose from 9% in 1994 to 12% in 2013. The Table 1 describes the latest numbers of population in 2014, as well as the change from 2010 to 2015. The world population was 7,244 millions in 2014. An increment has been to the extent of 81.7 million for the period 2010 to 2015, while the annual average growth rate was 1.15%. Major population trends in USA. There are a number of ways in which the USA's population is changing. The USA Census 2010 has depicted major trends in USA demographics. The Table 2 describes the trends in various demographic parameters such as median age, fertility, population density between 1955 and 2015. The median age clearly shows an increasing trend, and so does the population density and percentage of urban population. The fertility rate has declined over the years. The South has risen again. Between 2000 and 2009, USA's population increased by an estimated 24.8 million. Slightly more than half of this growth was concentrated in the South. The West was a distant second, capturing roughly one-third of the nation's net growth during this period. Continuing a near quarter-century long trend, the Northeast and Midwest both experienced slow population growth between 2000 and 2009, capturing only 6.5% and 9.4% of net population growth, respectively. the browning of America. Underlying the rapid geographical redistribution of the USA's population are the dramatic changes in the complexion of the America's society, driven by immigration and rapid non-white population growth. In 2005, the white share of total population had dropped to 67% of the total. The Asian, Black, and Hispanic population of United States increased by an estimated 31%, 10%, and 36% respectively, while the non-Hispanic white population grew by only 2% between 2000 and 2009. The Table 3 depicts the share of minorities in USA's population between 2000 and 2010. The share has increased for Hispanic population group as well as for the Asian. For Black and American Indians, it remained consistent. The Table 4 shows the relative distribution of USA's population by race in 2005 and its projections in 2050. The relative share for white is projected to decline in 2050, even though it would still account for the largest portion in USA's population. The Hispanic population is projected to increase, accounting for 29% share in 2050. Marrying out is in. A significant increase in marriage across racial and ethnic lines is further contributing to the browning of America. Recent research by the Pew Hispanic Center revealed that the out-marriage rate, that is, percentage of individuals marrying someone of a different race or ethnicity, has doubled since 1980. The silver tsunami is about to hit. At the same time, the USA's population is shifting geographically and immigration and intermarriage are changing the population mix. The nation is also aging, especially the native-born population. The graying of America is mainly driven by the aging out of the so-called post-World War II baby boomer population, the huge cohort which was born between 1946 and 1964, the end of men. Over the past decade, cyclical and structural changes in the USA's economy have profoundly affected the employment prospects of American workers, especially males. Men have been more adversely affected than women, in part because they are concentrated in economic sectors such as manufacturing and construction, which are more vulnerable to cyclical downturns. Rapid growth of grandparent-headed household. This trend has been named as cooling water from grandma's well. This shows that the grandparents are increasingly providing their grandchildren and, in some instances, the fathers and mothers of their grandchildren with cooling water from their reservoirs of knowledge and experience, as well as emotional and financial support. Between 2001 and 2010, the number of American children living in a grandparent-headed household increased by 26.1%. Slowing growth. The 2010 census numbers show that population growth had dropped to 9.7%, its lowest level since the Great Depression. The USA's population growth rate has also lagged behind world population growth over last decade. However, USA's growth remains ahead of many other developing nations, particularly European countries, whose populations may actually decline between now and 2050. Increasing income inequality. Income inequality in USA has increased more or less steadily. As of 2009, The top 20% of the households in USA earned 50.3% of all household income according to Census Bureau. The bottom 20% of all USA households in 2009 earned only 3.3% of all wealth. More women in diplomas. The USA's population is getting more educated as a whole, with 87% of adults 25 and older having high school diplomas in 2010, up from 84% in 2000. The Census Bureau reported that 37% of employed women have attained a bachelor degree or more as of 2010, compared to 35% of men. Waiting to procreate. An increasing number of educated women are putting off childbearing. According to Census Bureau, among women aged 25 to 34 in 2000, 83% with less than a high school education had given birth, compared to 42% of women with bachelor's degree. But 10 years later, the gap within that same cohort closed considerably. USA is becoming more racially and ethnically diverse. As of July 2008, minorities accounted for 48% of all births in the US. Immigration has also changed the racial and ethnic makeup of the country. It is projected that African American population will rise and white population is projected to decline by 2050. The Table 5 depicts the percentage of population distributed across various races. In 2009, white accounted for 74% of the population. This was followed by African American that accounted for 12.36% of population. This was followed by Asian, American, Indians and Hawaiian. The figure 1 shows that in USA, the median age increased from 30 in 1950 to 37 in 2010. Globally, the median age rose from 24 in 1950 to 29 in 2010. It is projected that in future, the world will age more rapidly than USA. The figure 2 shows that the increase in total dependency in USA between 2010 and 2050 will be driven by movements in the old age dependency ratio. It can be seen that the old age dependency is projected to increase to 36 in 2050, while the child dependency will remain at 30. Trends in population growth in the USA. USA's population has increased each decade since the inaugural census of 1790, when there were 3.9 million people living in United States. Growth from 1950 to 2010 was rapid. The global population nearly tripled and USA's population doubled. However, population growth from 2010 to 2050 is projected to be significantly slower. The population is projected to increase from 312.2 million in 2010 to 400.9 million in 2050. Changes in fertility. From 1950 to 1955, the crude birth rate in USA averaged 24.2 per 1,000 people. By 2010 to 2015, the crude birth rate in USA had fallen to 13.2. By mid-century, from 2050 to 2055, the birth rate is projected to drop further to 12.2. The total fertility rate fluctuated widely during the 20th century. In the early 1900s, the total fertility rate was 3.5 children and declined during the period of depression in 1930s. The birth rate increased after World War II but the fertility boom ended abruptly in the mid-1960s. After the mid-1970s, fertility rates rebounded slightly at 2 births per woman in 1990s and reached up to 2.1 in 2000. Again, the total fertility rate stood at 2 births per woman in 2009. The figure 9 shows the birth and death rates in USA. From 1950 to 1955, the crude birth rate in USA averaged 24.4 per thousand people. That was more than double the crude death rate of 9.6 per thousand people. By mid-century, from 2050 to 2055, the birth rate is projected to drop further to 12.2 and death rate to rise to 10.2. Consequently, population growth from 2010 to 2050 should be much slower than it was from 1950 to 2010. Changes in mortality. Just like fertility, mortality has also changed over the years. Around World War I, 1 in 10 American babies died during their first year of life. At mid-century, less than 1 in 30 babies died in their first year. In 2000, around 99% of children survived infancy. It is expected that there will be improvements in USA's mortality between 2000 and 2050. And infant mortality rate is projected to fall to 3 deaths per thousand by 2050. Large gains in life expectancy were also witnessed. The average American resident could expect to live for 79 years during 2010 and 2015, up from 69 years during 1950 to 1955. The figure 4 shows that the life expectancy for an average American citizen was 79 years during 2010 to 2015, up from 69 years during 1950 to 1955. The improvement is even more striking for the world, with life expectancy rising from 47 years during 1950 to 1955 to 70 years during 2010 to 2015. These gains provided the foundation for an increasingly older population. Migration. Influx of population accounted for about one-third of USA's population growth in the 1980s and for an increased share later during the 1990s. Between 2000 and 2001, it contributed about 40% of the growth. This component of population change is highly vulnerable and difficult to record. Between 2010 and 2011, net migration was estimated at around 7 lakh. Trends in population age structure in USA. The aging of population is not a new phenomenon. USA and global population have both turned older since 1950. However, future prospects for aging have garnered more attention because population growth is likely to be concentrated in the older age groups. The other age groups are expected to increase only slightly, and the social and economic effects of aging may be felt more acutely in the future. In USA, the population of seniors more than tripled from 13 million in 1950 to 40.8 million in 2010, a total gain of 213. The population of seniors in USA is projected to increase by 111% to 86 million in 2050. A temporary surge in the growth rate of this population will occur between 2010 and 2030 as the baby boomers turn 65 and older. In USA, the median age increased from 30 in 1950 to 37 in 2010 and is expected to reach 41 in 2050. It is projected that USA will attain a significant milestone in aging by 2050. By then, American population aged 65 and older will be larger than the population of children younger than 15. The old age dependency ratio is also projected to nearly double. It must also be noted that composition of population has also been changing in terms of rural-urban mix. The urban population increased by 12.1% from 2000 to 2010. Urban areas defined as densely developed residential, commercial and non-residential areas accounted for 80.7% of the USA population, up from 79% in 2000. The figure 5 shows that the proportion of seniors exhibited an increase of 213% between 1950 and 2010. This percentage increase was greater than the increase in population of 15 to 64-year-olds, 105%, and the increase in the population of children younger than 15, 45%. The similar trend also holds true globally, wherein the percentage increase in old population exceeds that of the other two groups. The table 6 shows the trends in the percentage of population in different age groups across 3 years, 1950, 1975 and 2000. The population in the age groups 20 to 64 years and 65 plus increased to 59% and 12.4% respectively in 2000, while the population under 19 declined during the same period to 28.6%. Challenges. When population issues are mentioned, many people associate them with Africa, Latin America, or Asia. But some observers contend that the United States also has a significant population problem. In terms of damage to planet and depletion of resources, they argue Americans are not far behind. Despite living in the richest and the most powerful nation on earth, American citizens are suffering many of the same declines in quality of life associated with population growth in other regions. Environmental devastation. As population grows, demand for resources will increase and, therefore, increased pollution, deforestation, soil erosion will result. America's environmental priorities cannot be reconciled with the new infrastructure and resource consumption that continued population growth will require. Resources like water and energy are straining under the constantly increasing demand. Loss of open spaces and overcrowding. America's sprawling urban areas are encroaching on fragile coastal wetlands and paving over farmland and open space every minute to meet the needs of expanding population. Increasing pressure on social security systems. This challenge is often attributed to the demographic trends that have led to aging populations. This is because of the worsening age dependency ratio, since old age dependents are increasing, and this has increased the number of retired persons relative to those in the workforce. Healthcare and health spending. Although population aging may or may not result in increasing proportions of older persons in poor health, the numbers experiencing that condition are almost certain to rise. Thus, as the USA's population ages, the social and economic demands on individuals, families, communities, and the government will grow, with a substantial impact on formal and informal health and social care systems and on financing of medical services in general. USA's healthcare workforce may be too small and not appropriately organized and trained to meet the health needs of this population. Immigration poses policy changes. The number and type of immigrants seeking to enter the USA may also impact areas such as security, workforce, and crime and enforcement policy. The country of origin of immigrants will also affect the racial and ethnic composition of the USA's population and contribute to the increasing diversity. This diversity can also present a number of challenges like difficulties in assimilating into American mainstream as well as income disparities. Managing the urban sprawl and growth of mega regions. This is another challenge for policymakers as to how much infrastructure, economy, and environment will be able to support this growth. Managing the political scenario. The post 2000 population redistribution trends set the stage for a fierce political battle. The challenge here will be for the political architects who must adopt an approach to further economic development, helping dislocated men. There has been devastating impact of recent cyclical and structural changes in USA's economy on male employment, which is a serious threat to USA's future if it is not addressed. Educating children. One of the biggest challenges is to determine how to properly educate the current generation of primary and secondary age school children who are far more diverse than previous generations. The non-white American children attend severely under-resourced and lowest performing schools. Lower quality of life. The lifestyles and social health of Americans are significantly degraded by impacts associated with overpopulation. It is a big challenge to take care of this aspect. Conclusion. While the USA inflicts a significant amount of damage on local and global ecosystems, and Americans suffer the impacts of declining social and environmental health, there seems little prospect of alleviating these impacts if current trend continues. To maintain well-being of population, sustainable policies must be implemented. Most effective way is to abstain from creating another human, to adopt policies for maintaining replacement level fertility. It is important to start school-based population and sex education programs as well. Thank you. We will meet again to discuss another interesting topic. Till then, goodbye.